Esther's studio audience share their experience of the eating disorder anorexia nervosa.
Too rich or too thin, but there are people in our studio today who are far too thin, but in their own eyes they're grossly fat. What is anorexia? Susanna, do you think you're fat or thin?
I feel as though I'm the largest in the studio.
You think you are the fattest person here, do you? If you compare yourself with the other people you're sitting next to, how does that make you feel?
As though the people watching are thinking, what she's sitting there for, she hasn't got a problem.
So you think that you look so fat that no one thinks you've got anorexia? Okay. So why do you mind that?
I don't like to be told I'm thin, but there again...
do you want to be thin?
I want to be inconspicuous.
You want to be invisible?
Yeah.
So you don't eat as a way of getting invisible? Becoming invisible?
As a way of not attracting attention to herself.
Now, some people would think that it's a way of attracting attention. Some people think...
I don't. Because I feel as though in a crowd I wouldn't be noticed, where if I was big and voluptuous, I would be noticed.
And you desperately don't want to be noticed. How long have you had anorexia?
On and off since I was 8.
How serious has it been in your life?
I've been defibrillated and revived twice, and if it wasn't for Dr. Lloyd, who I see at the moment, I'd be dead.
And yet it would seem so easy, Susanna. If you just ate, why can't you eat?
It's totally out of control psychologically. If I had one wish, it would be not to win the lottery, but to not have anorexia. That is how desperate I am, but it is psychologically totally out of my control, which people don't understand. They just think I'm being stubborn, and it's not like that at all. I desperately want to eat.
But you somehow psychologically can't do it?
No.
What do you think, hearing that, Mary Kenny, what do you think?
I've just looked at this problem in terms of social history, if you like, and in general it's a disease of affluence. When women are starving, we know, for example, studies of London working class women in 1915, most of them mothers didn't get enough to eat. They were very poor and they were underfed. So we know that in poor societies it is not such a pressing problem. There's one other thing which is quite interesting, which is that until the Second World War in many countries, a lot of people didn't have any mirrors. And we have very many more mirrors today, and we're much more aware of body image.
Do you think it's, in a way, vanity in you, that you're desperately trying to be thin and beautiful?
No. Thin and beautiful? Yes, we're joking. I would not want to be beautiful at all, thank you very much.
Certainly. I mean, if you look, I've just got this month's Tatler, which I was just looking at by chance this morning. She looks to me painfully thin. How does she look to you, Susanna?
I feel fatter than she does.
Do we think that the fashion industry, that the image of women as thin is beautiful? Do we think that this does contribute in any way? Do we think this? Do you, madam?
I do. Yes. I'm a recovering anorexic. I look 200% better than I used to, but at the weight I am now, I used to model, and I've actually been approached at the weight I am because I'm the right shape for modelling clothes, and I won't do it because I don't want to portray that shape to other people as being normal, because it's not. I am the minority. There are very, very few of me, whereas 60% of women in Britain are about size 14, size 16 and over. And I don't think that we should be giving that image off to young, impressionable girls, because it is, from my own experience, it does boil down to a low self-esteem, and losing the weight, getting the attention, makes you feel good. You keep on doing it until it gets out of control. You end up with a problem. But girls at that age who are just wanting to lose a bit of weight and feel a bit better about themselves, they really don't know what they're getting themselves into.
At your worst, what were you eating?
I was drinking a bottle of whiskey a week, and on Saturday I would eat 6 chocolate bars.
And that was all?
That was it.
How long did that last?
Well, that particular period was about the last 3 years, but I've been suffering in one form or another since I was 13, so that's about the last 15 years, really.
How can you live like that?
You don't, you exist. It's not living. I mean, that's the thing, people don't realise what they're getting into once they start off, and when you actually realise that you are not controlling it, it is controlling you. That's when it gets frightening.
But you are actually now the ideal for a model, are you? I mean, we have a model agent here. Do you think Joanne is...
I wouldn't say ideal. I mean, models...
Stay standing.
You know, models alter. It's like some models are much more voluptuous. It's becoming more womanly as well. I mean, looking now, I would say to me, you're too skinny. You would have to put on some weight, but you can see it in your face and everything as well. So it's all about looking healthy as well. It's like anything where you need people to have like a good diet, look after themselves, which everyone should. Like
but Kate Moss and all those
she naturally is like that. I mean, there's a typical example which has brought all this upon, where a girl is very, very slight, and she was chosen because of her face and the fact she's very, very tiny. If you compare her to other models, she's a complete waif. But the way of her bone structure and her face, that's what they concentrated on, and she's very short for a lot of girls that are working as well. So you have that. I think she introduced a lot of that. But if you look at other models like Cindy Crawford, excuse me, Elle Macpherson, Linda Evangelista, they're bigger girls. They're big frame girls. You know, they're much taller. They're much bigger.
Is that going to be helpful?
Well, I just think you look at how many models like Cindy Crawford and the voluptuous models. There's only one of them for every 10 skinny little rakes that's running down the runway. And that's what you mean. That you open any fashion magazine, you're going to get the occasional voluptuous, famous model. But more than anything, they're like that Tatler. They're just skinny, scrawny little rakes that the clothes hang supposedly well on.
I'm not going to take it away. It is a very glamorous business, but so is acting, so is, lifestyle of the rich and famous, that sort of thing. People aspire to certain things, and people like looking at that.
Well, that's the only reason I'm concentrating on this. It's because the image that you see in photographs, in fashion... Yes, madam.
Esther, 2 years ago, I won a modelling course when I was a size 8. When I finished the modelling course, they told me to lose a stone in weight. I feel that the media influences young girls.
You were already a size 8 and they told you to lose
a stone.
And you refused, I hope?
Yes, I did. I just walked out in tears. I went utterly paranoid.
She felt fat. She knew she was fat, and she wasn't. She was actually a stone lighter than she is now when she was told to lose a stone. And this was a top model agency, sir. This wasn't some backstreet place. This was a top model agency. They told her she was super... slightly short, but they'd have plenty of work for her. Come back when you've lost a stone. And she has got a big bone structure and everything, What do you say?
Larry?
I was a fashion editor for almost 5 years, and I think it's very easy to pass the buck to say fashion produces these images that create this problem. Certainly in my experience, I have had girls who I've rung their agent and said, this girl has lost too much weight, please take her off your books for a while. I've actually retouched pictures to make girls look fatter. We know we have a responsibility, and most of the people in fashion are not evil. We're not sitting there thinking...
But I have watched a fashion photographer retouch a thin girl to look thinner.
You will retouch certain things. You will retouch, maybe you will flatten a stomach. This is not reality, this is fantasy. This is, in my dream, I'd wake up and I'd have, Pamela Anderson, enormous bosoms, and long legs, and a flat stomach. Surely all of us know that that's not real, that's not the way real women are, but some people have such low self-esteem that they will be affected by that.
One thing that's coming over already, Esther, is something that is prevalent in the media, that anorexia is a problem that afflicts young teenage girls. It isn't a problem that just afflicts young teenage girls. Otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here, and nor would Susanna.
Why have you got anorexia?
Well, I grabbed hold of the fitness and exercise thing and healthy eating, healthy living. We are encouraged to look thin. The papers, the magazines push this image of healthy-looking, thin people, and everyone thinks, whether it's a fantasy or not, as that lady says, they think they can.
The gentleman up here, with all due respect and well done for recovering, what you are exposing is the fact that this is not a disease to do with, as a picture of Kate Moss in a magazine, my goodness, I must suddenly lose 3 stone. But I still think that we're focusing too much here on images, and what it is, it's not why do people do this? It's not why are people trying to lose the weight, it's why did they come to this decision that they have to attain something else? Why aren't they happy with themselves? Most people hopefully mature out of a teenage in which they are very keen to be, liked by everybody, into an adulthood where they can accept the way they are. Unfortunately, some people can't do that. Why?
Because you're giving them a retouched ideal, which isn't possible.
I don't look at a picture of a girl on a beach and think, God, I wish I was like that. I mean, I can actually look at it and think, she's a great-looking girl. I happen to be only 5 foot tall. I am never going to look like that, and it doesn't ruin my day.
Right, sir.
Yeah, going to Suzanne over there. There's one thing. Everyone wants to be someone these days, yeah, and if you keep on acting that way, you won't be nobody. You'll just die and gone. Your dream's gonna just go away.
I know that.
And you ready to risk that? I don't think no one wants that.
I have an excellent job. I have a husband and 2 children, and I often ask that very same question. And I usually say, would you say that to somebody with 2 broken legs? No, because it's not their fault. You're almost intimating it's my fault. I've chosen to be like this.
Yeah, but you're gonna lose your husband and your kids.
Doesn't it make you understand how ill I am? Because I'm out of control.
I just don't understand how someone can risk their whole life on that.
I can't answer that because I'm desperately trying. I've had some horrendous treatment on the NHS, so I have tried and I am still trying. But I don't know what the outcome will be.
What do people do to anorexics, Susanna? When you say you've had horrendous treatments, what have you had?
The first treatment they ever tried was, they first of all said I had to go into hospital because of my weight. The person drove me there because she felt it was her obligation to do it. They then tried to put me into a tiny room with a mattress on the floor, took all my possessions away and just said, you've got your night dress and your toothbrush, no visitors, no phone calls, nothing until you eat. It was like a punishment. And I felt, I've done something drastically wrong here, so I just gave up. And they realised I was going to die, so they said, OK, you can have everything back. They got a bit desperate.
The problem we've got in this country is that we don't take anorexia, we don't take psychiatric illness seriously, because you can't throw a pill at it. I've always said that if people with psychiatric illnesses could have a pair of crutches on their head, people might say, well, there is something wrong with you. But because you can't see it, you can't cut it off, you can't give you a pill, people aren't interested, which forces people into a situation that Susanna found herself in, being shut in a room. She isn't a criminal, but she was being treated like one.
There are some occasions when it's not just that people with anorexia are punished, it's that people are encouraged almost to have anorexia. Now, Joanne used to be a ballet dancer, a very, very successful ballet dancer. You were once promised a lead in Coppelia, weren't you? Tell us about that.
Yes, you see, I was always a very, very confident person. I had what I felt, the world at my feet. I was going to be a star. It was just going to happen for me. And I got to my classical contract, which is so few and far between. I was so pleased that I got it, and I just wanted to please, please, please. And my director said to me, Jo, you've got the biggest butt I've ever seen. And then she jabbered away in Hebrew to all the Israeli people. This was at the Israel Ballet. In Hebrew to all the people standing around, so I didn't know what she was saying about me. And I was distraught. And I went back home to my apartment that evening, and I shared the room with an Israeli girl, and I said, Dorit, please tell me, what did she say? She said, no, I don't really think I should. Please tell me. And she said, oh, you're just a fat little dwarf. I was 7.5 stone and I'm 5'4". I hardly